the last day of Gŵyl Haf 2021. So glad you could join me here. I'm so glad it's here. Now I can read books again. Isn't that ironic? So, Literature Festival. I did actually read quite a few books this Literature Festival, that is a complete lie. They were what got me through. I went straight to the romance genre. Because when you're stressed and very busy, what do you need? Pure escapism. Couldn't recommend it highly enough. Oh, welcome to the last day of Gŵyl Haf 2021, and thank you so much for joining me. It has been so lovely. It's just been the best festival. I have so many thank yous to do in this wrap up, but before I get to the thank yous, let's go through our very last day of programming. So on this, our last day of the festival, first of all we had a workshop this morning with Maya. She did a Polish workshop where she talked through the class translating a Polish comic, and it was amazing because obviously the class had never come across Polish before. Not studied Polish before, and so they translated it all literally using a glossary, and then translated that, well I guess you could say, and then rewrote that creatively so that it sort of works in English. Then we have, so that was just a lovely way to start my morning this morning. Thoroughly enjoyed just having to watch and not have to do anything. Then we have had two gorgeous events today. First of all is Robin Myers, who is she just helps us out so much. She's just the best. And so this year we asked her to read some poetry. So she starts off reading her own poetry, then some she's translated / by people she knows, and then gets a little bit further away from her to people she doesn't know at all. And Robin is just gorgeous and is so... Robin loves poetry and is the only person other than Will Dawson, creative associate of Gŵyl Haf, who their love of poetry just melts my heart and encapsulates so many things. I just learn so much from both Robin and Will about poetry. It's a delight. Then we have so Will and I then have done a wrap up. The kind of function of it is to draw some links between the talks that we noticed as recording them, and sort of to just highlight, there's a few links like talks that talk about being a different person in a different language, talks from academics, talks that deal with financials and sort of practicalities of what it's like to be a translator, and things like that. So if you're sort of looking for a way to watch the festival, there's a few suggested ways in there. And then we also, what else do we talk about? Oh, we also do thank yous. We do thank yous and have just a nice half hour. Filmed that this morning. And then the last talk that I filmed for the festival was Aranava Sinha, and this was, it was so good. Aranava is incredible, and he it was the last talk I filmed for the festival, but it also felt so right that it should be the last talk of the festival, because it's sort of in his lecture, I feel like he covers where we've been and where we'd like to go. He really, in this sort of sprawling lecture that covers sociology, language, obviously linguistics, history, everything, anthropology, in this sort of huge lecture. It's not huge time-wise, it's incredible how much he fits into an hour. But throughout this lecture, it's he basically, we sort of, it's where I want to go with the festival, the ideas I want to investigate and look at, and he does such a good job, and it's so interesting. I've already watched it like 3 times, and I was there. I recorded it. So yeah, you're gonna really enjoy that one. It's fantastic. So yeah, thank you so much to Aaron, Alva, and Robin, and to Maya today for their excellent talks and events. So we have come to the end of the festival. I am glad, although it has been very much fun, and I'm so pleased with how generous people have been, and so sort of amazed at how people have like come together and like wanted to be a part of it, and have been willing to just talk to me about their lives and their work and their passions and so much more. So yeah, thank you everyone who's spoken at the festival. It means a lot. And then thank you for watching. Like, it also means a lot. I know it's sort of, it's no easy feat to make time in your life for an hour-long event, in amongst everything else that has claims on our times. So I hope that you have enjoyed it, and I hope that they have given you something to think about and to carry through with you into whatever your work or practice or passion may be. I think that something that really like warms my heart is like when Eleanor's art like responds to the talks, and like her, that just, oh, it's the best, that is a new thing coming in response to a talk and to things people have said and ideas they've raised. And I find that that's what I get from the festival. One of the many things I get from the festival is sort of going forwards, all these ideas marinate and work their way all together to this layered understanding, or somewhat more of an understanding. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. It really, I hope that you get that from it too. And then, very last but not least, in fact, most important of all, is to thank Eleanor and to thank Jemima for her bits of writing she's done for us, and to thank Will, without whom, I wouldn't have anyone to talk to about the festival all the time. He always picks up the phone, and he sort of, isn't on screen as much as me, and has lots of other things that he's doing, but he has made a tremendous amount of time for Gŵyl and loves it just as much as I do, and puts just as much into it. So thanks, Will. Ready for 2022? I'm not. I need a year. Give me a year. We'll start in August. This year. So, thank you, and I'll see you all soon.
I'm going to continue with a poem that I wrote a number of years ago about Palestine, which is a place where I lived for a while, more years ago. And it's a poem about language and about the different space and weight and role of different languages in a multilingual space. Al-Khalil. You had to pass through a checkpoint outside the mosque where the massacre had been. The soldiers took our passports and vanished, which meant we weren't going anywhere soon. Another at the entrance sat high as a lookout on a ship. Like most translators, he was the good cop. He greeted the women politely, knew the names of little boys, joked about soccer in Arabic. Shadi watched him darkly. He'd never been to Al-Khalil before, and it was some time before he'd tell me what they'd said to each other. "Where are you from?" asked the soldier, in Hebrew. "Haifa," said Shadi, in Arabic. "Really?" said the soldier, in Hebrew. "What street?" "Abbas," said Shadi, in Arabic. "Look at that," said the soldier, in Hebrew. "We're neighbors." And gesturing to the checkpoint, How long have you been waiting here? 60 years, said Shadi in Hebrew. You know what, said the soldier in Hebrew, you people should be grateful to us. Before we came, you didn't even have cars, just camels. Shadi's grandfather had been a taxi driver in Arabic. Shadi said nothing in anything. IDs returned. We made our way down a road where everything was stony and gray and charged with a sort of static unease. Skinny cats, a child with one arm, a father who pulled him closer when he saw us. We walked until we met another soldier. An older boy, maybe 12, hovered by the curb. Where are you going? Asked the soldier in Hebrew. We're just walking, said Shadi in Hebrew. You have to go back, said the soldier in Hebrew. Then, where are you from? The soldier asked me in English. New York, I said in English. Ah, New York, said the soldier in English. He gestured to the boy. Do you know where that is? The soldier asked the boy in English. America, said the boy in English. America, said the soldier in English. Do you love America? He asked the boy in English. The boy said nothing in anything. Of course, there were other things that day. A child flying a kite on a roof, bolts of black cloth threaded with crimson blooms, sweet cheese, a dense, harsh smoke smell like some kind of fifth circle marijuana, overhead grates veiling the open-air aisles of the old city where settlers would sometimes fling rotting food or raw sewage onto passers-by, a roast chicken restaurant where we asked if I could go in to pee. Shadi's voice in Arabic, greeting the people who told us how to get where we were going, out, as if it were the first time he'd ever come, which, again, it may have been, although I'm not sure that's what he'd say if you asked him.
Interesting. And translators love metaphors. They inevitably use metaphors to explain what they do. But there's an point that I came across briefly in a talk that Jhumpa Lahiri gave the other day as part of the Sebald lecture, where she mentioned immigration as a metaphor for translation. She didn't really dwell on the theme too much, but it occurred to me that it is actually a brilliant metaphor for translation, because it is really about what's immigration? I mean, it's people from one culture who are moving into another, hoping to find a home there, right? Which is exactly what a translation is. A book moving from one culture into another, hoping to find a home there, right? Now, if you take that metaphor further, how does the immigrant expect to thrive? How is the immigrant going to be accepted? Is the immigrant going to have to become one of the people in the country they're going to before they're accepted, or can they continue to be who they were and be accepted with that particular identity? And that is at the crux of the question, of the translation. Can it be what it was, and can it be admired and read or trashed, as the case might be? But even if it is trashed for what it was rather than what it is trying to be by fitting into a culture which is not very familiar with, not very comfortable with. And I wondered if and who takes the decision here? The immigrant doesn't. The immigrant is continuously reacting to cues, whatever they get from around them, right? So the immigrant ends up going into these cultural hovels, as it were, these ghettos, if not physical ghettos, but they suddenly so for example, Indians who migrate to America suddenly become very Indian when they go there, because they're faced with this kind of alien setup and they find comfort in one another. But that further shuts them off, right? And then interactions become only business interactions or some mild social interaction. Now, where does the onus lie? Is it up to them to become more American, or is it up to Americans or the British or the Dutch or Japanese to say, let's all be who we are, but let's all be accepting of one another, and let's accept that diversity is what we want in this world and it makes us better. So in the same way, if publishers and readers say diversity is what we really want, and we want a Korean book to be a Korean book and not a Korean book transformed miraculously into an English book, then it would work. So someone somewhere has to step up and take that call. I think this tension is now going on. And it's a very interesting metaphor. I found that it's remarkable in the way it works. And then there's also the point: why do people migrate in the first place? They're migrating for better opportunities, because they mostly go because they're not happy where they are. And I've just been translating a book by Amitav Ghosh from English into Bangla. And he talks about, in that novel, Gun Island, he talks about migration being one of the outcomes of massive climate change. So if you look at it, in a sense, the need for books to move from one culture to another also has its roots in the fact that there are some global cultural changes that are taking place. So if you want to go into it, I suppose it can get quite fascinating. But then Jhumpal Lahiri also used the metaphor or the symbol of Echo and Narcissus. And he talked about the myth where Narcissus falls in love, Echo falls in love with Narcissus, but Echo, as you know, can only echo what she hears from other, only echo the end of it. And so, which in a sense, is that what translation is like? Maybe you're echoing what you hear. And Narcissus is not interested in Echo's love because Narcissus is in love with himself, with his own reflection. And if you look at that, then here you have perfect, right? It's so pat. It's almost like someone was thinking up and wickedly creating this story about translation. So you have a literature of a country which is so in love with itself. We don't want anybody. And the other people are echoing you. So then echo is not a translation. Echo is trying to speak your language. Mm-hmm. So I, as a translator, I'm in love with you, the British reader, and I'm trying to speak your language to be heard. And I'm echoing you, but you are so in love with your own literature that you don't have any time for me. And it's delicious, right? It's just too good to be true, almost. Yeah.
That's perfect. I've never heard such a perfect analogy in my whole life.
I know it was too much. And then, I mean, then you realize that art creates patterns when none exist. Real life is far more chaotic than that. And maybe we like art precisely because it imposes some order on things that we are unable to understand. It's just too confusing for us. But the point is, where does it take us? I mean, again, we can be very righteous and take the moral high ground and say, oh, but Narcissus has no business being in love only with himself, and he should diversity, and he should give Echo a chance and find out what Echo wants and so on. The real question is, why doesn't he? Right? And that, I think, is the question that we have to ask and find an answer to.
But what talks, when we programmed them and we'd done the research and we knew who we wanted to pick, what talks do you think you were like still surprised by?
All of the sign language talks.
Yes.
I didn't know anything about BSL, Libras. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing about those talks or any of these talks. So that's definitely one of them. I mean, I think it's less about what don't you know anything about, because I think we put this festival on because we know a little bit about a lot of things within translation. But there are certainly an awful lot of talks, with Sinoist and with Nikki Helen Wang, Chinese children's literature and Chinese literature in general. I've never read an awful lot of that. So those were a couple of really interesting talks, because it's not new, it's not completely new to me. It's also not, I don't know how many Chinese books I've read, but not a lot. And so these talks were really interesting. And actually as well, I don't read any, you're quite big on your YA and your children's literature, but I don't read any children's literature or any YA books. So, any of those talks, which is also the Pfizer Gwene talk.
Yeah, Pfizer Gwene, Lawrence Schimmel, Schimmel's second talk, the inclusive children's books talk, and then definitely Paige. We touch on YA as well, and
you go into it with Daniel Wan?
Yeah, a little bit, not extensively. Chinese children's literature.
I'll tell you the other place, with Teja from Tilted Axis.
Yes, oh my god, that was really interesting, because I had the realization in the interview that Tilted Axis publishes a lot of YA, and I hadn't thought of it that way before, and then all of a sudden Teja and I both went,
Yeah.
Goodbye from Gŵyl Haf. I hope you stay well, enjoy the sun, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.